welcome to the Weekly Wake. They have left me alone again. Dr. Cantrell and Dr. Wade are out of the office, and I am back from Spain. And every time they leave me alone, I'm going to get a little sciencey on you. And today's science is going to be about foods and how our immune system can react to them in a way that makes you feel horrid. And that's really why we care about food. Of course, we care about nutritional value, and of course, we care about freshness and are you getting exposed to toxicants when you eat. But today, what I'm going to talk about is food allergies and food reactivities. Now, you really can't be alive in America and not have heard something about gluten intolerance or gluten allergy, and that falls into this category. So before we break that down, I want to talk about the kind of things that foods can create if your immune system is seeing food as something to attack. Things that make us think about food as a core issue of you feeling good every day is skin issues are really common. We see a lot of skin issues when there are food reactivities. We see headaches. We see mood issues even. Anxiety, depression, brain fog, difficulty thinking throughout the day. Definitely digestive issues. Diarrhea, constipation, IBS, where you're going back and forth between those two things. A lot of times food immune issues can be involved in that. Joint pain, and then any type of autoimmune disease or any type of debilitating degradation disease like Parkinson's. A lot of times foods can either be the cause or an aggravating factor in how your body is handling another chronic issue. So the issue is here that we're talking about is that your immune system starts to see food as something to attack. Now we're going to do a quick immune 101. Our immune system is really kind of super complicated in how it responds, but also kind of basic in how it responds. Basically, our immune system is a Michael Bay movie, is like the American Army Michael Bay movie, and the food or viruses or bacteria or parasites are the aliens coming down to land. So we see something bad, we attack with full force until we get rid of it. And that's great if there is a virus, if there is a bacteria that we don't want, if there's a parasite. But when we start to misinterpret what we're seeing, and now all of a sudden we're attacking the nice Uber driver down the street, just like we're attacking the aliens, now we have destruction that we don't want. And there are a few different ways that this can happen, but that's the overall issue with these immune responses to food. You start to create destruction outside of just getting rid of the bad guy. Now, there's an immediate hypersensitivity to food, and that's a food allergy. And I have this written out here because we have 4 different things we're going to talk about, and they're all big, and they kind of sound alike when I'm talking fast, like I tend to. So food allergies is something that you might be familiar with, like a peanut allergy or a bee sting allergy. This is when you're exposed to something in food or something in the environment, and you immediately have an immune reaction to it. So within seconds to minutes, hours at the outside, you release histamine, you get swollen, you get itchy, your eyes water. If it's really bad, you can actually get anaphylaxis where your throat closes up and you can't breathe. So that's a food allergy, an immediate hypersensitivity involved in an antibody called IgE, E like elephant. And that's the most common thing that people think of when they think of food allergies. And that's why a lot of conventional doctors will say, oh, you're not reacting to gluten, because they're thinking of food allergy. They're thinking you're not going to have an anaphylactic reaction to gluten. And they're right, that's really rare. But it's the other types of food reactions that can be so problematic. And that's a food reactivity where you're having a delayed hypersensitivity. It's taking you hours to days to even sometimes a week for you to see symptoms of the immune reaction to food. And that's the way we react to viruses and bacteria. It's a slow burn and a slow build. You don't get exposed to a virus and within minutes start coughing or wheezing or feeling sick. It usually takes a few days before that exposure actually presents symptoms. Now you guys might say, oh yeah, somebody coughed on me this morning and I got sick later in the day. It wasn't that person that coughed on you this morning. It's the person that coughed on you 3 days ago that made you sick today. It's the person that coughed on me in the plane when I flew back that made me sick today. And so it's a slower burn. And it's easier when it actually is a virus or a bacteria because you've got one thing to fight, one thing to get rid of. But when it's food that you're having that delayed, slow burn response to, it can be really hard to figure out which foods are causing it. And that's where the testing comes in that I'm going to talk about. But it also can be really hard to say that food is the cause because you just feel cruddy all the time. You kind of get used to it. And that's why sometimes we need to dig deep and figure out what foods are triggering that immune reaction. and get them out of the way so you can feel good. Now, food hypersensitivities involve that delayed and immediate. So that's just a way of kind of saying the immune system is reacting to food, which it shouldn't do. Now, a food intolerance is a different thing altogether. A food intolerance is where it's not necessarily immune mediated. You can have lactose intolerance where you just don't break down the sugar in milk effectively, and so you end up feeding bacteria in your digestive system, get gas, bloating. Dr. Wade and Dr. Cantrell talked about that a little bit when they did the dairy taste test or the dairy alternative taste test while I was gone. But that's an intolerance, which is not an immune reaction. So you can be intolerant to food, you can have a delayed hypersensitivity to food, you can have an immediate hypersensitivity to food. Now, we talked about what kind of symptoms those can cause: skin issues, digestive issues, mood issues, brain fog, fatigue, worsening autoimmune disease. How do we know what's actually happening? The best thing to do is test. And there's no perfect test, unfortunately, in this realm. I wish there were better options, but we find that antibody testing in blood is the best bang for the buck option out there. And we like to do just this big IgG test. The lab we use is called ALLATest. That's what we're using commonly now. It's the most specific, it's the most reproducible option out there. It casts a wide net, and it does catch a lot of fish. So definitely there's some false positives and false negatives in there. But we do find that once we do that test, identifying the very specific ways that your immune system is reacting to very specific foods, we can identify the majority of them, get them out of your diet for long enough for you to heal, and put them back. Same thing with the IgE. We can do a blood test for that specific immediate hypersensitivity antibody. I mentioned IgE as the immediate antibody, and I forgot to mention IgG is the delayed antibody that we're looking for. Kind of the detector that our body uses to say, hey, you're foreign, I want to attack you. And unfortunately, we do that with food, but that's kind of how our immune system works. Is I don't know who you are, I've never seen you before, you must be bad, let's go full force and attack. Some of the testing, the other options are things where we look at if the immune system reacts in general. There's cell-mediated sensitivity testing. Those tests we've used in the past, we find that they're just harder to reproduce, and so when we do repeat testing, it's not as accurate and we can't tell if you've been healed or not. Some people do muscle testing and have good success with that. Some people just pull everything that you eat normally on a regular basis, have you do an elimination diet, and pull that, and then put the foods back in. And you've probably heard of those types of elimination diets. Whole30 is one, the GAPS diet is one, which is a version of the paleo diet. And they all have their value. By the time people come to see us, pulling the top 10 allergens is really not going to help them. If that helped, they would have gotten better already, because you can have these immune reactions to something that you're eating commonly, but it's never going to be a top 10 allergen. I had one patient who had frequent migraines. We did the testing, and dill came up really high for her, which to me was sort of an odd one, but she ate dill pickles all the time. And so we never would have thought of dill being, hey, that's a common allergen, let's pull dill out, maybe that'll catch it. So we like to do the blood test. And like I said, there are different options, but what we find is that just ends up being the fastest way to get the information that we need. Now, the good news about delayed hypersensitivity testing and then action from that is you typically don't have to pull those foods out forever. It's about pulling the foods out, healing the barrier that should be there in our digestive tract that allows the foods to be seen. Basically, your digestive tract wall should be like the Great Wall of China, just a huge barrier preventing the Mongol hordes from invading mainland China. When it gets gaps in it, soldiers can get in. Now you're having fights all along the wall, it gets more damage, more food particles can get in, more and more problems, bigger issues. Now the country is having struggles. We want to heal that wall, get it nice and strong again, and then it doesn't matter so much what you eat, with some exceptions, and we'll get to those. But that identification process helps. Now there are those exceptions. Gluten, casein, and whey are those exceptions. Even if you don't have an immune reaction to gluten, gluten itself creates gaps in that wall. So it's almost as gluten is firing cannonballs at the Great Wall of China, whether or not you're recognizing that as foreign. So that's a lot of times why we will pull gluten even if you don't react to it, especially if there's a neurologic issue or an autoimmune issue. Casein and whey similarly are so cross-reactive. They look like other proteins in the body that even if you're not recognizing them as foreign, you can still be stirring up the immune system against body parts that you don't really want to be attacking. Ideally, your body is not attacking its own thyroid gland and causing its destruction. So, in a wink, food allergies are where you have an IgE, immediate hypersensitivity, immediate reaction to food you're eating, and that's similar to a bee allergy or a peanut allergy or pollen allergies, where you're exposed, you react right away. Those are pretty easy to figure out. The delayed hypersensitivities, the IgG food reactivities, are where we see a lot of issues come in with those chronic illnesses that you just can't get better from. And the best thing to do is do a blood test and figure out what they are. And we'll talk in a future Facebook Live about the steps of pulling it out and healing. But there is a fairly short-term process to get that back under control. And then a food intolerance is where you're not processing a food well, but there's not an immune reaction to that food. It just means you're not breaking it down effectively. So that is my quick, hopefully not too sciencey, in a wink about food allergies and food reactivities. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments, and we will help you feel better, because it's our goal to have everybody feel awesome every single day. All right, guys, next week, Dr. Cantrell and I will be doing this, and we'll see you then.